Freedom, a word that evokes a sense of power, autonomy, and limitless potential. But what if I told you that your idea of freedom is nothing more than an elaborate illusion, a carefully constructed narrative designed to make you feel in control while you unknowingly march within the confines of an invisible cage? The real chains are not made of iron or steel. They are woven into the very fabric of your mind, shaping your desires, your beliefs, and even your sense of self. From the moment we are born, we are subjected to an intricate process of conditioning. Society, culture, education, religion, each plays a role in sculpting our worldview, telling us what is right and wrong, desirable and undesirable, possible and impossible. And yet, we rarely stop to question the origins of our thoughts. Do you truly believe what you believe, or have you simply been programmed to think that way? Jean-Jacques Rousseau famously declared, "Man is born free, but everywhere he is, in chains." He was not referring to physical bondage, but to the subtle yet absolute domination of social constructs over human will. Think about the choices you make on a daily basis. You choose what to eat, what to wear, what career to pursue, who to love. But were these choices ever truly yours? Consider fashion trends. Why do people instinctively follow them? A certain style becomes desirable not because of some intrinsic value, but because of cultural forces dictating that it is in. The same applies to political ideologies, religious beliefs, and even personal aspirations. The things you crave, the things you reject, they are all influenced by forces beyond your control. The most insidious aspect of this invisible prison is that it does not feel like a prison at all. Instead, it disguises itself as free will. The system does not need to force compliance through brute strength when it can mold minds to accept their own servitude willingly. The German philosopher Theodor Adorno referred to this phenomenon as the culture industry, a mechanism through which mass media, entertainment, and consumerism manufacture desires and shape public consciousness, all while maintaining the illusion of personal choice. The psychological aspect of this deception is equally profound. Sigmund Freud's work on the unconscious mind revealed that much of what we perceive as deliberate decision-making is driven by unconscious forces, childhood experiences, and deep-seated fears. His nephew, Edward Bernays, took this knowledge and weaponized it, using propaganda to manipulate the masses under the guise of advertising. If companies can make you believe that buying a certain product will bring you happiness, that voting for a particular candidate will secure your future, or that pursuing a specific lifestyle will make you successful, then is your freedom truly your own? Or are you merely responding to carefully implanted suggestions? Even language itself is a form of control. The words available to you define the limits of your thought. Orwell's 1984 explored this concept through Newspeak, a language designed to restrict free thinking by eliminating words that could express rebellion. In reality, our linguistic structures, social norms, and cultural expectations function in a similar way, shaping not only what we say, but how we perceive the world. So, if freedom is a carefully orchestrated illusion, how does one break free? Can one even break free? Before we attempt to answer that question, we must delve deeper into the very machinery of human decision-making, into the realm of neuroscience, where the very concept of free will begins to collapse under scrutiny. If freedom is real, then surely it must begin in the mind. After all, our choices, our desires, and our beliefs all stem from the internal workings of our brain. But what if the very organ we rely on for decision-making is nothing more than a deterministic machine, operating on preordained rules and chemical reactions, leaving no room for true autonomy? Modern neuroscience has uncovered unsettling truths. Truths that suggest free will may not only be an illusion, but a necessary deception, a trick played by the brain to maintain a cohesive sense of self. In 1983, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet conducted a groundbreaking experiment that sent shockwaves through both the scientific and philosophical communities. He discovered that the brain initiates actions before we are even consciously aware of making a decision. Using EEG scans, he found that a readiness potential, a buildup of electrical activity in the motor cortex, occurs milliseconds before a person reports having made a conscious choice to move. This suggests that the decision has already been made at an unconscious level before it ever enters our awareness. If our brains decide before we do, then who or what is truly in control? Leibovitz findings were just the beginning. More recent research using fMRI technology has shown that scientists can predict a person's choice up to 7 seconds before they consciously make it. A study conducted at the Max Planck Institute in 2008 found that patterns of brain activity in the prefrontal cortex could reliably indicate which button a subject would press well before they were even aware of their decision. The implications are staggering. What we experience as conscious choice may merely be a post hoc rationalization of decisions already made deep within the neural circuitry of the brain. This realization challenges the very foundation of moral responsibility. If we are not the true originators of our decisions, then can we be held accountable for our actions? This question has troubled philosophers for centuries. Determinists argue that our thoughts, emotions, and actions are dictated by a complex interplay of biology, genetics, and environmental conditioning, meaning that every decision we make was, in a sense, inevitable. From the perspective of neuroscience, we are not authors of our own stories, but characters acting out scripts written by forces beyond our comprehension. Neuroscientist Sam Harris, a vocal proponent of determinism, argues that free will is nothing more than an illusion necessary for social cohesion. He states that if we could see every detail of our brain's processes, the chemical reactions, the neuronal firings, the past experiences shaping each impulse, then we would realize that our choices are not truly ours. Instead, they emerge from a mechanistic system governed by the same natural laws that dictate the movement of planets and the growth of trees. Yet, despite this evidence, we feel free. We feel as though we are the architects of our decisions. Why? Evolution may hold the answer. The illusion of free will may have been a necessary adaptation, allowing us to function cohesively in complex social structures. If we were to fully internalize the idea that our choices are predetermined, would we still strive for greatness? Would we still hold others accountable for their actions? Would civilization as we know it even be possible? The illusion may be the very thing that keeps society from unraveling. But what happens when this illusion is exploited? When those who understand its mechanics use it to manipulate the masses? That is where we must turn next, to the marketplace of freedom, where politics, consumerism, and ideology sell the illusion of choice while keeping us confined within invisible boundaries. If freedom is an illusion, then it is the most profitable illusion ever created. In the modern world, the concept of freedom has been commodified, packaged, and sold like any other product. Governments, corporations, and media conglomerates have mastered the art of making people believe they are free while ensuring they remain obedient consumers, loyal workers, and predictable citizens. The marketplace of freedom does not grant autonomy. It manufactures desires, manipulates choices, and ensures that the boundaries of acceptable thought and behavior are never questioned. Consider democracy, the political system most commonly associated with freedom. We are given the right to vote, to choose our leaders, to shape the destiny of our nations. But how real is this choice? Political campaigns are not battles of ideas, but carefully curated spectacles, crafted by marketing experts and psychological strategists who understand exactly how to manipulate public perception. The illusion of choice is maintained by offering only a limited spectrum of options, ensuring that no matter who wins, the system itself remains intact. As Noam Chomsky put it, the smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow very lively debate within that spectrum. The same principle applies to consumerism. We are bombarded with advertisements, each promising that a particular product will make us happier, more attractive, more successful. We believe we are making independent purchasing decisions, yet every choice we make has been subtly influenced by an intricate web of psychological tactics, from the color schemes used in packaging to the subconscious triggers embedded in marketing campaigns. Our desires are not organic, they are engineered. Edward Bernays, the father of public relations, understood this better than anyone. Using psychological insights, he transformed advertising into a tool of mass control, proving that people could be made to crave things they never needed, to desire lifestyles they would never question. Social media has taken this manipulation to an entirely new level. Every like, every share, Every comment feeds into an algorithm designed to keep us engaged, to reinforce our existing beliefs, to create the illusion that we are choosing what we see, when, in reality, we are being fed precisely what will keep us trapped in digital echo chambers. This is not freedom of thought. It is the illusion of freedom of thought, a self-reinforcing cycle that ensures we remain predictable, profitable, and easily controlled. Even our personal identities are shaped by forces beyond our awareness. We are told we must be ourselves. But what does that even mean? Who is this self we are told to embrace? Is it the raw, unfiltered core of our being? Or is it a manufactured identity shaped by cultural expectations, social norms, and economic incentives? The truth is unsettling. The modern individual is not a free agent, but a carefully constructed consumer, shaped by external forces that dictate not only what they buy, but who they believe themselves to be. This is the great deception. The illusion of choice keeps society functioning, but it also ensures that true autonomy is never within reach. We are free to pick our distractions, to express pre-approved opinions, to pursue careers that serve the economic machine. But step outside the carefully drawn lines, and the system quickly reminds you of its limits. Those who challenge the illusion, whistleblowers, dissidents, revolutionaries, are silenced, ostracized, or worse. So, if freedom is just a mirage, a carefully maintained construct designed to keep us pacified, then what comes next? Is there any way to break free from this labyrinth of invisible control? That is the final question, the ultimate paradox. Can we ever be truly free, or is the pursuit of freedom itself just another illusion? If freedom is an illusion, does that mean we are forever trapped, mere puppets in a grand performance we cannot control? Or is there a way to break free, if not completely, then at least in some meaningful way? The question of true freedom is one that has haunted philosophers, mystics, and revolutionaries for centuries. And the answer, if it exists, is far from simple. At first glance, the weight of determinism seems unbearable. If our thoughts, desires, and decisions are dictated by biology, conditioning, and unseen societal forces, then where is the room for autonomy? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Man is disturbed not by things, but by the view he takes of them." Perhaps freedom does not lie in escaping the system, but in understanding it so deeply that we no longer mistake its constraints for reality itself. True freedom may not mean breaking all external chains, but breaking the internal ones, the illusions that keep us enslaved to false narratives, programmed desires, and unconscious compulsions. The first step is awareness. Most people do not question their beliefs because they do not realize they were given them rather than discovering them. To wake up is to recognize that everything, the culture you identify with, the ambitions you chase, even the way you love, is influenced by something outside yourself. To see the invisible strings is, in itself, an act of liberation. But awareness alone is not enough. The moment you begin to question the system, you find yourself facing a new paradox. Even rebellion can be commodified. The system is designed to absorb dissent, to turn even the act of breaking free into another product. Countercultures become fashion trends. Revolutionary ideas become corporate slogans. Even the philosophy of freedom can be sold back to you in the form of self-help books, TED Talks, and motivational seminars. The marketplace of freedom adapts, constantly shifting to ensure that even those who think they have escaped are merely playing a new role in the same game. So, where does that leave us? Some, like Albert Camus, embrace the absurdity of it all. If there is no ultimate escape, then perhaps the only way to be free is to embrace life fully, to play the game while knowing it is a game, to act without illusion, but also without despair. The only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion, he wrote. Not freedom from the system, but freedom within it, a refusal to be psychologically enslaved by forces beyond your control. For those seeking a deeper form of liberation, the path may be more radical. It may require stepping outside the predefined narratives altogether, rejecting not just political or economic structures, but even the mental constructs that shape our identities. Buddhist philosophy speaks of enlightenment as the ultimate freedom, the realization that the self, the ego, and all its attachments are illusions. To detach from these illusions is to experience a kind of liberation that no external force can take away. But is such a state attainable for most people? And if it were, would it even be desirable? Perhaps the final irony is that most people do not actually want total freedom. Complete freedom means total responsibility. It means accepting that there is no grand authority dictating meaning, no invisible hand ensuring justice, no ultimate structure providing comfort. It means standing alone in an infinite, indifferent universe and choosing, despite it all, to create meaning for oneself. And so, the great deception remains, not because it is forced upon us, but because, at some level, we choose it. The illusion of freedom is comforting. It provides structure, purpose, and direction. To see through it is to glimpse something far more unsettling, a world without inherent meaning, where freedom exists only for those who dare to claim it. The question then is not whether freedom exists, but whether you are willing to pay the price to find out.